Hi. Yesterday I reached out to you to let you know that the elders were going to be meeting this morning to address our thoughts and concerns and to give you some guidance relative to the stay-at-home order that was issued by Mecklenburg County yesterday. And so we want to take a moment and do that. We had a great meeting this morning. Thank you to all of you who prayed for the elders. We had a terrific time, some great discussion. Really feel like we came to the heart and mind of God together. And so thank you for praying for us. Before we go any further, let me just read you a verse of scripture out of the Bible from Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. This is how Solomon concludes the book of Ecclesiastes. He says, "Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." Fear God and keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man. Our challenge in this hour is that there can be times when fearing God, honoring God, and keeping his commandments bring us into potential conflicts with the commandments of men. And God's encouraged it. God's instructed us to honor civil authority, to honor those in positions of responsibility and authority. But there are clearly times in Scripture, God says honor the king, but there are times in Scripture where the people of God had to dishonor the king because the things the king was ordering were contrary to the higher purposes of God. We believe it is a legitimate responsibility of civil governmental authorities to try and protect the public health and welfare. And so most of what's been going on during this time to encourage people to stay home or to restrict certain gatherings has been in keeping with that mandate to try and protect the public good and the public health. And we honor that and want to continue to honor that. But it gets a little dicier where Mecklenburg County came down yesterday when the government begins, if they begin, to try and restrict the legitimate activities of the church. Because religious liberties are protected under a constitution, and more importantly, they're instructed by God himself. So we need to walk carefully as the people of God in these matters. Right now, we think this is really not very difficult and pretty easy to manage. I do, however, believe it's probably good practice for the day that is likely to come when our government may actually begin to attempt to heavily infringe on religious liberties, and we may find ourselves in a much dicier situation in the future. So this is a great time to practice and walk through some of these issues. So we are beginning at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, Mecklenburg County has issued what they call a stay-at-home order. Don't let the words frighten you. It is not martial law. No one's going to arrest you for walking your dog. You're allowed to go walk your dog. You're allowed to go buy groceries and all those sorts of things. Basically, it's an order trying to encourage as many people as possible to stay home and not go to work. That's the fundamental intent of the order in order to tamp down the spread of this coronavirus. Where it becomes dicey is where it begins to infringe on the legitimate operations and activities of the people of God as the church of God in the community. So as we talk through this and discuss it this morning as elders, we've come to a few conclusions. First of all, relative to our Sunday morning worship services, which we live streamed to you last Sunday, we're going to continue to do that. And if there was any concern about that, we actually have in my hand a ruling from the Office of Emergency Management for Mecklenburg County declaring that completely legitimate, that churches are allowed to come together in groups of 10 to produce and project worship services. So that's not even a concern at all, although it was a concern based on the wording. We've got a ruling from the Office of Emergency Management. So we're going to continue to send out our Sunday morning worship services just like we did last week for the next several weeks. A little more tricky come the issues of our prayer gatherings and our small group gatherings. And so let me help you. This is going to be a little longer than my typical video, but let me walk you through this. Theologically and philosophically, the church is the people of God. You are the church. Together, when the people of God gather, that forms a gathering of the church. So what happens in a small group gathering in your house is just as important and just as much church as what happens in this building at 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings. When your microgroups gather in a restaurant, that is church. And they have sanctified that place by their presence and the things that they're doing. And so you need to understand what we believe and preach and teach, that you are the church. Your home is a sacred space. Your kitchen table can be a communion table just as much as the altar in the sanctuary. And so you need to know that and believe that and celebrate that reality and use your home as a place of ministry. So what do we do then about small group gatherings and our prayer gatherings? Because clearly the order is not as clear about that. We believe these are essential meetings of the people of God, essential meetings of the church that our community needs to happen. However, because I do believe that the government's not trying to infringe on Christian rights right now. They are trying to protect the public health. And because we believe that there is a clear end date to this, 3 weeks, we're going to encourage the following, that our small groups, including our prayer gatherings, voluntarily honor this. Not because we're convinced that they have the right to tell small groups they can't gather, but because we want to honor those in authority and do our best to be good citizens and help in our community. So for the next several weeks, we're going to encourage small groups to gather via Zoom. In other words, we're going to teach you how to do that if you don't know how, but to gather electronically from each other's homes, kind of like we did with the large group gathering on Sunday morning, and have your small group meeting, but do it online. And we'll do that with our prayer gatherings as well, except for tonight, because the order does not take effect until tomorrow. Wednesday night prayer tonight will happen at the church, just like last week. We'll separate into groups of 10 and have prayer on site. If you can make it tonight and you feel comfortable coming, we'd love for you to come. If you feel like you need to stay home and be in that secure environment, that's fantastic as well. Just pray from home. But we will have church. We'll have prayer at the church tonight from 7:30 to 9. We'll break up into groups of 10 around the building. And if you're available and comfortable, please come and join us for that. Pastor Matt will be reaching out to small group leaders. If you're a small group leader, a little later today, Pastor Matt's going to reach out to you with some tips on how to work together with your small group via Zoom, via other ways to have meaningful time together while you're apart for these next 3 weeks. And the elders will keep an eye on this. If the government wants to extend this beyond that 3-week limit, we will reconsider our position. But for now, our position is Sunday morning worship as we've been doing it, live stream. Small groups and prayer meetings, we're going to encourage you to do that electronically online. And not because we feel like we have to, but because we want to do that, to honor the government and be good citizens. If you have any questions, please contact the church. Reach out to me or one of the elders, call the church office, or send me a text or an email. But be encouraged. This is a tremendous opportunity to be the people of God and to remember that doesn't necessarily happen in this building. It happens wherever you are. God bless you.